Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Alright, so this is going to be kind of my own personal rant, I guess you could say, but it's about everything I've been talking about on this channel. Okay, so I went for a run, just got home, I went to check my messages on YouTube, and this video popped up, and it's this guy. He's got a huge Christian channel. And I don't even know if he's a pastor. He probably is, I would assume. So they're showing this girl, young lady, about 18 or 20, something like that, maybe 22. And all the comments are how she's so beautiful. She has such a pure heart. She's so precious. Her heart is so tender. And here's the thing that really kind of irks me: ripe for the harvest, kind of like raping a virgin, right? And it's just like, are you people listening to what you're saying? Now, I know you might be going, wait, you're being really picky here. Now, just hold on. Another one, I've never seen such a tender, pure heart. I mean, on and on. I can just go down the list here. Everyone's talking about how pure-hearted she is, right? So here this guy is guilting her and shaming her. And yet, she's the one of pure heart, as everyone says. Jesus said, "This is the truth. Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Matthew 18:3. So he asks her some questions. Have you ever lied? And she just, with absolute purity, said, "Yes, I've lied before." And he says, "Have you ever taken the Lord's name in vain?" She said, "Yes, I have." And then he says, "Have you ever..." Hold on, let me go back there. Hold on. So he says, "Have you ever stolen?" She said, "Yes, I have." So then he goes, "Well, you're a lying, stealing, something criminal." I'm like, whoa, dude. I don't think she meant like she went and stole a car or stole from a bank or something like that. I think she was saying like she probably stole some candy from her brother at Halloween and like, little stuff like that. And then he goes, Jesus says, if you look with lust in your heart, then you've committed adultery. Talking about completely, radically, totally 180 degrees missing the purpose/point that Jesus was trying to explain. Wow, was he going in the wrong direction? The point is that no one's perfect. None of us. So I remember in different churches how they would say, we are a spirit inside an animal body, like our body, our flesh. And they even say that, like, we are in the flesh. So our body is literally like an animal. It is an animal. We have essentially hijacked it. This is a vessel that it's like a car. A car without a person inside, it doesn't go anywhere. There's no spirit. So when you get inside the car, you're like the spirit driving the car around, okay? So your body is a vessel like a car. A car is a vessel. So your spirit came into your body, and now you're basically driving around. We've essentially hijacked this body. Yes, I learned that in church. Okay. All right. So here's my point. Your body has lust. Your body, it has a mating system that is purposely designed to procreate and recreate, okay? So we are going to get attracted. We are going to have lust. We are going to get turned on. But the problem is, all of that was turned into, oh, that's sin. No, it's not. That's a very natural, normal, healthy part of being a human being. But not to those logical left-brain, narcissistic, rule-oriented people. No, that's a sin. You're going to hell. That's lust. So lust, the definition is this is a negative thing and it's sinful. That's actually not the definition of lust. But if that's what you want to change it to be, like a narcissist. So essentially what this man's doing is he's condemning her heart. Now as you watch the video, as he continues on shaming, blaming, guilting her, and making her feel bad about everything that's natural, normal, healthy, you can literally see in her eyes where she squints like he stabbed her in the heart with like a needle. So this is the first time she's spoken to a Christian and about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the gospel. And it is very clear that this man has effectively shamed her, guilted her, blamed her, punished her, and made her feel bad for being an open-hearted, beautiful being. For essentially being pure, for being someone who's good. Jesus says again, this is the truth. Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. So here are these guilt, rule-oriented, left-brain, logical brain people telling the right-brain people, which is the doorway to God, which is the creative, spiritual, emotional brain, the brain that Jesus keeps talking about. It's not necessarily in your brain. This is connected to your heart. So this is what Jesus means when he says, unless you become like these children, you'll never enter the gates of heaven. Everything, I mean, I could literally quote a million times how Jesus says spirit and truth when he says it's about heart and mind. And yet this man is effectively doing what a lot of Christians do, is closing people off from their heart, which means he just effectively closed her off from God. Hey, congratulations, man. She was ripe for the taking. Yeah, good job. You found an innocent, pure-hearted being who clearly was open and connected to God. And you disconnected that. Good job, buddy. Yep, gotta follow those rules. Because you know those people that are stuck in the left brain, it's all about right or wrong, and you must be wrong in order for them to be right. That sounded very narcissistic. Wow, okay. So, here's the deal. I teach something called internal awareness. Now, when I learned how to do this myself, it took a while, and I made quite a few videos talking about it. I may not have explained it, but I'm going to actually make a video of teaching you one of the techniques that can help you to become emotionally grounded, to become internal, which opens you up, okay? Here's my point. You look at Jesus Christ's eyes, and they're dilated, and they're slightly pulled apart, okay? When I teach you how to do internal awareness, this is what happens to you. Your awareness drops down inside your body and you expand. And when you become emotionally grounded, you're essentially opening up your right brain. And then when you look at people's eyes, their pupils will be larger, they'll be dilated and slightly pulled apart because now they're seeing the bigger picture in the right brain. Now, essentially, what I'm telling people, and I will eventually, once I teach a client how to do this, I'll just look at them when they're not there and say, hey, look within. They're like, oh, okay, popped out, yeah. Oh, wait a minute, who said that? Oh, that's right, Jesus Christ said look within. I wonder why. Now, here's what happens. So, the reason why I'm teaching what I'm teaching is it's not because I read it in a book or my pastor said this or some person said, well, here's the rule. No, it's because the deeper I went inside, the more I learned how to open up, I started seeing things from a completely radically different perspective that was not what I was taught in the church. It's like, well, yeah, but that is what they say in the church. Yeah, but I'm not seeing it from that perspective. I'm on the other side now. It's like learning Spanish. Like all of a sudden you'll read something and when you get fluent in Spanish, like, oh, so that's what that means. It becomes really obvious. It's the same thing with the Bible. When you start reading the Bible from the right brain, all of a sudden, everything makes sense. And I don't remember what Jesus says or what the verse is, but he essentially said, like it's going to come to life. I think he said it'll breathe life or it'll come to life to you. And it's like all of a sudden you'll understand it. And it'll become very, very simple. It'll be common sense, like 1 + 1 = 2. The Bible is not complicated. I bet that's the first time you've ever heard that. Because most people are like, geez, that's so goddamn complicated. No, it's because you're dividing it. You're reading it from the left brain. You've been learning it from people who've been reading. The left brain is the divider. It's the either-or brain. It's the brain the narcissist uses. The right brain is the addition brain. It's where you add to. It's left and right. So if you're a right brain person, it's like Jesus says, heart and mind, or mind and heart. It's left and right. It's not either left or right. Remember the either or mentality? That's the left brain's mentality. It divides things. So when you look at the Bible, okay, so the left brain looks at everything as one piece of the puzzle, like it's just one little tiny piece, and they study that little piece and that's it. And then they might move on. It's like they might move on to the next piece and they study that, but they never connect the two pieces. They just throw them aside. They keep them separate and divided. This is why people will argue different verses of the Bible. And they'll say, well, this verse says this, and so therefore you're wrong. Well, that's what the left brain people do. Is it's either I'm right or you're right, so I must prove to you that you're wrong because I have to be right. I mean, that's one hell of a mentality to go through life. So what the right brain does, and what women do in general, is they will describe a piece of the puzzle in depth, okay? But then they take the second piece, describe it in depth, and then they connect the two pieces. And then they do it with a third piece, and the fourth, and the fifth, and sixth, and essentially what begins to happen is you start to see the bigger picture, just like a puzzle. You know, when you go to the toy store or wherever and you buy a puzzle and you break it all up, and then you got to figure out how to put the pieces together, and eventually you're like, oh, so it's a red car with an apple on the hood underneath an apple tree with a woman on the left side and a man in the driving the car or whatever. Suddenly you get to see the bigger picture. If you're a left brain being, you can't do that. Because you're not putting the pieces of the puzzle together. You're dividing the pieces of the puzzle. You were not supposed to subtract or divide. You were supposed to add the pieces together. So over the years, in the beginning, the first decade of teaching men how to open up to the right brain and teaching them how to communicate in a certain way, and then learning how to be internal, it became very aware, their pupils would dilate, my pupils would dilate. And then one day I remember reading, Jesus says, look within, and then I looked at his picture and I went, every single picture of Jesus, his pupils are dilated. And again, he clearly states to look within, which is what I call internal awareness. It's the same thing. So again, people that are only left brain, it's like, overly logical. It's like they look at everything like it's a fight, and I've got to beat you down. I've got to shame you. I've got to guilt you. I've got to win this competition. It's not. I'm gonna cuss. I'm sorry, but it's not a fucking competition. You're not here to destroy people's spirits and souls. That's not what this is about. It was never about this. Now here's the whole ridiculous thing. The reason why Jesus says, let me find it again real quick. He says the truth. This is the truth. Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. These children are already open-hearted. They already have a pure, fluid connection with God. And that's the thing about children. It's not until they become corrupted and corroded, and they are literally like this young lady, how she walks up to him with an open heart. You can see because her pupils are down, her face is soft. She's just an open, and as every woman in that chat was going, she's so open-hearted, she's so pure-hearted. And then he stabs her like with a sharp needle in the heart, and you can see her heart chakra, her heart energy close. You can see her pupils get small, like little pinpoints, like a needle could barely fit through. It's the children, those that are pure of heart, that are supping with God. It's the logical idiots that read the Bible and think, oh, this is a bunch of rules. It's a set of rules to follow. He even said something to the extent of, these are God's moral rules. Remember, the left brain is about rules, structure, and organization. So if you're in your left brain, you're going to perceive everything as rules. Now, in and of itself, that's fine, especially when you're reading a manual, as he said, like to an appliance. Because he said something to the effect of, oh, have you ever seen a father or a man, like he gets an appliance, but he doesn't read the manual? The problem is we're not dealing with appliances. We're dealing with human hearts and human souls. I mean, the idea that we're approaching spirituality from a rule-oriented black or white either-or mentality is just insane. Jesus clearly was a right brain being. When he spoke, clearly it was from the right brain. If you read the Bible from the left brain, it is literally going to filter everything through rules, structure, and organization, and you are not going to understand what it's saying. You're not going to hear it, and you're not going to see it. You're just not going to get it. When I went through my spiritual awakening and I was completely wide open, when I reread the Bible, everything made sense. It was so simple. Some of you might remember this Star Trek. This is with Captain Kirk. This was back in like the 70s and 80s. There was a scene where Spock, he put on this, I don't know, they went to some like alien planet or something, and then he put on this like hat, and when you, or not hat, but like this machine you put on your head, and all of a sudden everything became, he was, oh, like this is child's play. And then so he had to do brain surgery on, I think it was Captain Kirk or someone, and he was, oh, it's child's play. And they're like, what are you, and even Dr. McCoy was like, what are you talking about? This is like the most complicated thing in the world. He goes, no, it's not, it's really easy. So when he took it off, all of a sudden all that child's play went away. Do you want to know why everything is complicated, including the Bible? Or at least seems to be complicated, because it's really not. When you read the Bible from the right brain, I am telling you beyond a shadow of a doubt, all of a sudden everything makes sense. Every single thing. It's like, oh, this is so simple. Why didn't I notice this before? It's everything begins to add up. Everything begins to make a bigger picture. And you're like, oh, this whole thing is about love. Something the left brain cannot process. Something the left brain can't understand. It can't relate to. And it can't do. And yet here we are listening to these rule-oriented, logical left-brain people telling us what the hell Jesus was trying to say. They don't understand. They should be listening to, yeah, that's right, us, the open-hearted people, the internal people who are using the correct brain to read the Bible. It's like you use a screwdriver to screw in a screw. You use a wrench to tighten down a bolt. Why would you try to use a freaking screwdriver to tighten down a bolt? That's the dumbest thing in the world. And yet, that's what this world is doing with the Bible and other spiritual teachings. You know, I watched a Christian video that was talking about there's basically 3 types of people on the planet. You've got us, the humans, then you've got the people walking around that are like an empty vessel, and then you've got the fallen angels, the demons. And then literally, I think it was the very next video, or maybe it was a couple videos later, I'm watching this spiritual girl, mystical girl, whatever you call her, and she's talking about the same thing, but she's using different words. And she described it almost essentially the exact same way. It's like you've got these humans walking around having a human experience, and then you've got these entities that have empty bodies and they're walking around, and then you've got the underworld beings that are, you know, whatever, they're not in the 3rd dimension, or they're not connected. Well, it's like it's the same thing that the Christian lady was saying. It's the difference. It's exactly like this. So hello means hello. Now this is going to blow your mind. Watch this. I know it's going to piss some people off. It's going to freak people out. Some people might say it's blasphemy. But did you know that the word hola in Spanish, it means the same thing. It means hello. I know the Christians are going to be beating me down, telling me I'm going to hell for saying that hola means hello. Oh God. You know, I don't think it's Christians. I think it's just these overly left-brain people who are so close-minded, and they can only see things through the left brain. And yet everything about Jesus, his entire teachings, he literally even says it. To be open-hearted, to come from the heart, to be like these children, because children are open-hearted. It's the older humans that convince children to get stuck in their left brain, and when their hearts are open, what do? Yep, they stab them with the knife in the heart, so it stings it and it closes it. Did any of you get what I call the narcissistic sting, where like you feel this sting? Like it's generally it's in the solar plexus, and it lasts for a long time. You might have felt it in your heart. I'm not sure. I felt it in my solar plexus. Essentially what it does is it closes you off from your power, which means it closes you off from your emotions, which is your heart, which is your right brain, because that's where your power exists. Now, am I saying this because I read a book and that's what it says? No, it's because I've been working with clients using internal techniques, a series of them, to open people up to their own power. This is what I do for a living. This is I could literally say to you, like, this is 1/3 of the core of everything I do. And this is like it's like putting an engine in a car. Without the engine, you don't have any power, no matter how great your brakes work, no matter how beautiful the steering wheel is, no matter how great your wheels are. If you don't have an engine, you're not going to go anywhere. Alright, so ladies, I'm going to ask you a question. And men, okay, let's do it for both you guys, okay? Here, I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay? Now just watch the naturalness of this. I'm going to ask you a question, and I instantly want you to answer it, okay? You cannot think that if you pause even for a millionth of a second, it doesn't count. You've got to react. I'm going to ask you a question. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to point your finger. That's all I want you to do. I'm going to ask you a question. And do it instantly, and just watch what happens. Okay, ready? Here we go. Ready? Point your finger. I'm going to ask a question now. Ready? Where's God? Point, point, point. Where's God? Where's God? Now, when I do this with you in person, 100% of the men point somewhere outside of the body, either forward, up and forward, or up above them. Somewhere outside of the body. In other words, external. Guess where women point? They point internal. Now, when I do this in person, you'll see someone hesitate, or they'll point one, then they'll stop, and then they'll point the other, like, nah. You originally pointed this way, so you can't change it. Here's the deal. 100% of the women point internal. They point at their chest or their heart area, inside their body. 100% of the men, now I've been doing this for 30 years. 100% of the men point external, up or somewhere outside in front of their body. Hey ladies, guess what? It turns out you were right. You were always right. Jesus does say the body is the temple of the Lord, and the Lord resides within the temple. And again, Jesus says, look within. So for 2,000 years, we've been listening to the left brain males telling us what the Bible means, what Jesus means. And it's all about rules and punishment, and you're a sinner, and you should feel guilty and shameful, and you should go to hell. What does that do? That puts you in your left brain. It closes you off from your right brain. It lowers the lower artery in the reptilian brain, which closes you off from the right brain, which is the open brain to God. And remember, the word sin literally means to close off from or to turn away from God. So here this well-meaning man, this Christian, takes this pure-hearted being, as every single woman on that page had wrote in their thing. She's so pure. She has such an open heart, such an open, tender heart, and on and on. And this guy literally stings her heart once, twice, 3, 4. And that's what Narcissist did to you. This is why you felt like you were dehumanized. So this narcissist, this Christian guy, walks around feeling a lot of guilt and shame. And what do? They want to project it onto other people. And it gives them this ego rush. It gives them that source energy. They suck the life force out of you. As you watch this video, in the very beginning, she's just this open-hearted, curious, just the way we should be. This is the way we were designed, to be open-hearted and curious and willing to learn, willing to listen. And narcissists know this. So then what they do is they use a lot of very logical left brain manipulative tactics to twist things around and then stab you in the heart, to guilt you, to shame you, to hurt you. And you watch this girl slowly get sadder and sadder and sadder until she breaks down and cries. And all these Christians like, oh, that's so wonderful, that's an act of God. No, that's an act of Satan. So it's funny, but the whole teachings of Jesus, it's all about like letting go of all of that and being this happy being and enjoying life and coming from your heart and all this good stuff. It's like every time you see Jesus talk to someone, it's like they're released of their guilt, they're released of their shame, they're released of this burden or these burdens that mankind put on them. Do you know what causes wars and causes people to kill each other? It's when you're stuck in your left logical brain, because it's the either or mentality. Either you're rich or I'm rich. If you have it, then I have to take it, because either you have it or I have it. And this is what causes the battles. The right brain is where people get along, because it's and both. You can be rich and I can be rich. You can have it and I can have it. We can both have it. The right brain is where people can understand each other and get along with each other. And because the right brain's about options and possibilities, you can figure things out a lot better too. Whereas the left brain, there's only two options, either this or that. And that's it. And that's what causes wars. So just go watch the video. I'll try to remember to put the link in, but I'll tell you what it is. It's from The Chosen on YouTube, and the title of the video is Jesus and the Outcast Woman at the Well. Here she is, this beaten down woman by society, by everyone guilting her and shaming her and just doing everything they can to beat her down. And Jesus comes along and says, no, that's not what it is. And he said it's about spirit and truth. He goes, it's about heart and mind. And by the end of the conversation, she literally jumps up and down in jubilee and dances as she's running away, exclaiming, hey, this is the prophet, this is the Messiah, this is the one. He told me everything about my life. And she did it with absolute joy in her heart. And as you watch or read about Jesus and how people interact with him, they walk away feeling refreshed, feeling alive, feeling full of love and joy and all this good stuff. He has compassion for them. He doesn't judge them. He doesn't beat them down. He doesn't tell them they're going to hell. He doesn't just... But when you look at these people from the churches, it may not be all of them. Maybe it's just the narcissistic ones. But they're not doing that. They're doing the complete opposite. Like literally, people end up feeling ashamed and feeling horrified, and they start to cry. Regardless of what they think they're doing, they're closing these people's hearts, which means they're closing them off from God. As I've said before, it's called the good news for a reason, because it's good news, not bad news, not shameful news, not guilty news. I'm going to say this one more time. If you are around people that are using the teachings of Jesus to shame people, to guilt people, to beat people down emotionally, those are some wicked people. I'm going to give you a little secret, something you can do. Number one, you need to start opening your eyes and watching people. You need to start listening to what they're saying and listening to the tone and their facial expressions. What you really, and here it is. Listen and look for the intention behind their words. That's what you need to start paying attention to. That's what you need to start going, okay, so what's their intention? Like, what are they trying to get across here? Oh, and start paying attention to how your body feels. That's the other one. Do you feel shame? Do you feel guilt? Or do you feel refreshed? Do you feel free? Do you feel abundant? Do you feel alive? So here's the deal. It's not a matter of being left or right. It's a matter of being both. See, it's good to be able to shift to the other side of your brain so you can see it from the other perspectives. This is how you can understand someone, okay? A lot of logical people are like, what are you talking about? Like they don't even know that this exists. So being left and right brain is a very, very good thing because you can understand people on both sides of the fence. This is how you can get people to get along and to understand each other. This is how you can understand people. It's just like the 6 and the 9. From one side, it literally looks like a 6. And that person's going to argue to the death that this is a 6, and the other person's going to scream, no, it's a 9. And until one of them goes to the other side, they're both just going to sit there and argue and disagree, when actually there really isn't a disagreement or an argument. They're both right. You want to flip a narcissist out? You want to just give them a total meltdown? Tell them they're both right. Oh, no, it's either or. It's either or. It's either you or me. It's either them or me. It's like, because that's the left brain. They're stuck in the left brain. They can't see it from the other side. Remember, the left brain processes through either or. Okay, the right brain is the and both. See, when you open up to the right brain, you're open to both. But when you go into the left brain, you close off from the right. So when you open up to the right, you have access to left and right, and it's like an open door. And I just noticed unconsciously my energy, my voice, everything began to flow. I started using even more flowing words. So when that door is open, again, you can go left and right. You can go back and forth. So for those of you who are Muslim or Buddhist or even Christian or spiritual, like, I accept everyone. I don't care what your religion is. I really don't. I think we're going to go into a time where the world's going to realize, wow, religion is just left brain bullshit. It's about rule, structure, organization. Again, all I care about is that you have an open heart to God, that you are literally open and connected to God. I don't care what country you come from. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your religion is or was. Just that you're an open-hearted, good-hearted person. Here's what I'm saying. God loves you. God wants you to be happy. That's it. It's like, it is such a beautiful thing. Life can become so beautiful if people start understanding it was never about right or wrong. It was never about either or. It was never about my religion's right and yours is wrong. It's either or. It was always about enjoying life and being happy and connecting to God. The only reason why God wants you to connect with Him is so you can have a better life, so you can avoid the pitfalls, so you don't get hurt, so you don't get murdered, so your intuition says, hey, something's not right here, got to get the hell out. And the other side of intuition is going, oh, this is a good opportunity. Like, oh, this, see, when people say follow your bliss, it means like follow your happiness. Like, what is your joy? Like, what are you excited about? That will lead you down the right path. That's following your intuition. And that is where you create the magic. That's where all of a sudden things start falling into place. You start sleeping better. You start enjoying life. You start jumping out of bed. Everything starts to work. Follow your bliss. I heard that for many, many decades, and I didn't know what it meant. It literally means like, well, what are you in the mood for? Like, I really want to go to the ice cream store and get some ice cream. So go. That's follow your bliss. Because once you get there, you might meet the love of your life. You might meet that one person that says that one thing that ruminates in your brain for a couple days, and click, all of a sudden, oh, I understand how to do it now. Follow your bliss, because it will lead you to the events, the experiences, and the people that you need to bump into to help you on with your journey, your next goal, your next whatever, the thing you're stuck on, etc. Follow your bliss. One thing I want to say, if you haven't already figured it out, I'm not here to condemn you. I'm here to free you so you can be happy and enjoy your life and live life to the fullest, because that's what it's all about. Hey, God bless you guys. Remember, click that subscribe button, click the like, make a comment, and go ahead and make a donation. It's right down there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.